You know, every time you go shopping, you're plugging into this huge hidden story, a story that connects you to people, places, and processes all over the planet. So today, we're going to unpack that incredible global journey that's hiding inside your shopping cart.
Seriously, think about your last meal. Not just the store you bought it from, but where did the ingredients actually grow? The answer is probably a lot more complicated and way more well-traveled than you think. Let's just start with how far your food has come.
Okay, get this. If you live in a big city like London, a pretty typical plate of food, say beef from Argentina, lamb from New Zealand, oranges from the US, could have traveled a combined total of over 50,000 kilometers. That's more than circling the entire Earth, just to make your dinner. It's kind of mind-blowing, but that's the reality of our globalized world.
So yeah, that incredible journey starts with the food right there on your plate. But this isn't just about farming anymore, not even close. It's about a massive global industry, and it's all driven by one very powerful idea.
And that idea is called the corporatization of agriculture. Basically, it's a huge shift from farming to feed people to farming as a business that's designed purely for profit. This means these giant corporations now manage pretty much everything, from the seeds that go in the ground to the food that lands on your local supermarket shelf.
So, check this out. Here's the journey of a real-world agribusiness. It actually started with steel services way back in the 40s. By the 60s, it jumped into grain and shipping. Fast forward to the 80s, and it's adding fertilizers and animal feed to its portfolio. And by the 2000s, it's into biotech. You see what's happening? It's all about controlling every single interlocking piece of the food chain.
Now, a system like this creates some pretty clear trade-offs. On the one hand, it's incredibly efficient. Thanks to things like the Green Revolution, we got higher yields and tougher crops. But there is a serious downside. When you focus on just a few profitable crops, that's called monoculture, you can destroy biodiversity, pollute soil and water, and, well, you push smaller family farms that just can't compete right out of business.
And this all global system, it also hits you directly in the wallet through something called agflation. It's a mashup of agriculture and inflation. So when global demand for something like grain goes up, doesn't matter if it's for food or for biofuels, the price goes up for everyone everywhere. And that price hike doesn't just stop with the grain. It ripples out and makes everything from bread to meat more expensive. All right, so the same kind of global logic that gets food to your plate also gets the clothes on your back. And to really get how that works, we need to look at a key strategy that all these multinational corporations use to squeeze out the most profit.
It's called the spatial division of labor. I know, it sounds a little academic, but the idea is actually super simple. A company just splits up its operations, design, manufacturing, marketing, and puts each piece in whatever part of the world it can be done the best, the most efficiently, and of course, the most cheaply.
Let's use a car company as an example. So the high-skill, high-value work like the research and design, the big-picture decisions, that stuff often stays in a developed country, say like Germany, where you've got a highly educated workforce. But the actual assembly of that car, putting all the pieces together, that work gets moved to countries like Slovakia or the Czech Republic, where lower wages can dramatically cut the cost of production. It's the same company, the same car, but it's being built across borders for totally strategic financial reasons. And this isn't just happening in Europe. Oh no, right here in North America, the shift in car production has been massive. Just look at these numbers. Between 2004 and 2020, Mexico's share of manufacturing almost tripled, while the share for the US and Canada went down. This was a direct result of things like lower wages and trade deals like NAFTA that made Mexico a really attractive place to build things.
And this exact same logic, this hunt for lower costs, is what drives the fast fashion industry. I mean, the reason we can buy a new shirt for so cheap is often because it was made in a country like Bangladesh, where garment workers might be facing incredibly long hours for very low pay. That's the hidden human cost behind that low price tag.
Okay, so this global marketplace isn't just for physical stuff you can hold. The world of services, things like customer support, data entry, even healthcare, has also been completely transformed by this endless search for efficiency.
So for years, India was a huge hub for call centers, right? But then, some companies started moving their operations to the Philippines. And you have to ask, why? Well, this quote from a business owner lays it out perfectly.
It was a calculated move. Lower wages, a workforce that speaks American English, and a cultural vibe that just led to happier customers. This is the global job market in action.
And it gets even more personal. We're talking about healthcare now. Medical tourism is this booming industry where people literally traveled the globe for medical procedures. Countries are now ranked on a global index, all competing for patients. And the top spots, like Canada, the UK, and Israel, they score high not just on quality of care, but also on things like cost and having a safe, appealing environment. You can literally shop the globe for a hospital now. How wild is that?
And the engine powering this whole thing, what supercharged this entire trend, is technology, especially e-commerce. You know, the old way of getting a product involved this long chain of middlemen, from the manufacturer to a wholesaler to a retail store. But today, that chain is radically shorter. A manufacturer can just partner with an e-commerce site and a logistics center and sell directly to you, no matter where you are in the world.
Our food, our clothes, our services, they're all just threads in this gigantic global network. But all this connection, all this interconnectedness, it definitely comes with a price. So let's break it down. What are the real trade-offs?
You know, there really isn't a simple answer here. For us as consumers, globalization can mean way more variety and lower prices. That's a definite pro. And for developing regions, it can bring jobs and investment. But for every pro, there's a pretty serious con. All those food miles create a ton of pollution. When a factory moves, it can hollow out the economy it left behind. And even when new jobs are created, there's always the risk of poor working conditions and that the profits will just be sent back to the corporation's home country instead of being reinvested locally.
So ultimately, every single item you buy is telling a story. A story of money, of labor, and of technology crisscrossing the globe. The point of all this isn't to label the system as good or bad, but just to understand it, to see it. So the next time you're at the checkout, just look at your cart. It's not just a random collection of items. It's a map of the modern world. What's your map telling you?